This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's go. Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more. The future's yours. Let go, explore. It's yours for sure. Same but me with fear. So to God I stay near. I keep my hand to the plow. There's no turning back now. My future look bleak. I decided to see. He said follow me. On a journey you'll see. Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more.
It's Saturday, family, and you know what we do on Saturday? We talk, but we only talk to the people that matter to you, the people that are going to bring you nuggets, jewels, and gems that will help you live well together. This is Lessons from the Journey Live, and I'm your host, Shawn L. Brown, and I am so thankful that you chose to be with me another Saturday to get what you need to be you. And so I don't like to waste any time of my 60 minutes with you before I introduce my guest. And I want to tell you a little bit about her before I tell you who she is. She is probably one of the kindest, sweetest, honorable, loving people I have ever met in my life. And the word that is screaming in my ears right now is safe. She is one of the safest people I have ever met in my life. I trust her with anything and everything. And that's a big deal coming from me. I don't trust easily. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my really good friend. I call her the trauma recovery specialist because she really is. Karen Penfold. Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank
How
you
are
for
you?
having me. So
Oh my God,
excited to be here.
I'm honored to have you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm
You
doing
doing
great.
good? You doing
Living a full life.
Oh God. Expand on that. You're living a full life. I know you're a wife, mom, entrepreneur, follower of Jesus, grandmother. You're all the things. So what does a full life look like for Karen? What does that mean?
A full life, for me, as I was saying earlier, is I really try to, I have an intention to live a full life and not a busy life.
Mm,
I've lived a very, very busy life, and I recognized that that was really a coping skill for me. It was a way of distracting me from my own healing, my own feelings, my
mhm,
own healing. I recognize that now.
mhm.
But I've been on this quest to live a full life, and that means that I be intentional about what I'm doing with my time, how
Mhm.
I start my day, how I schedule my day, and where I put my energy, where I give my overflow, and
Yes.
how I receive it, how I receive joy and energy and hope and faith and love. I can get hope and faith and love from the Lord in my quiet time, but then there's people and things that I do that give me energy and life and also more hope and love and faith, and then I'm full to be able to overflow
Mm,
into my family, my friends, my students, and my clients. And I
ah,
don't have it down perfectly at all, but it's a practice. It's a
Yeah.
process and a practice.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
anything worthwhile, anything that's worth learning, I believe, is a process and a practice. And so I'm trying to walk that out.
I think you're doing it.
Hmm.
I think you're
Some
doing it.
weeks, some days, some weeks, it you know, it's like our, it's like our nervous systems. It's an up and a down. You know,
Hmm.
we gotta go with the flow of life, and and try to respond with some
Hmm.
agency and not
Hmm.
just react in
Hmm.
our trauma patterns. That's the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, this is going to be such a great conversation. This is going to be such a great conversation. So let me ask you this. What is it? I'm going to start. I know I'm starting all the way back here with what you do, but I believe it will bring us full circle to your story, right?
Hmm.
Because I think what you do was birthed out of your story. So can you tell us what you do? Tell us a little bit about your business and the methods in which
Sure.
you do your business.
Um, my business or ministry
Mhm.
and
Yes.
business
Amen.
is full of hope, yoga, and trauma recovery. And saying the words of what I do, and I'm a trauma recovery practitioner. I use somatic practices to help people, women. I work mainly with women, find relief, healing, and hope for anxiety and trauma. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
so
somatic mean?
somatic, right? Somatic. Soma means body, and so I work with people with anxiety, with trauma, differently than a therapist would. So a therapist is head down. It's
Mhm.
talk therapy. It's talking. It's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's mindset work, and all of that is important and can be an
Mhm.
important piece of recovery. But when we're talking about someone's anxiety that is to the point of the nervous system is dysregulated. They are in a fight, flight, or a freeze response. That is a biological happening in the
Mhm.
body. It isn't just something going on in the mind. I'm not talking about just regular stress, okay?
Mhm.
But something that your body, your nervous system is actually in a different physiological state. And in order to help find healing for that is we need then to deal with the nervous system. We need to be with the body. And
Mhm.
so it's body-based practices. And so that could be trauma-informed yoga. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be. In fact, I
Mhm.
just realized this morning after having a consult with someone who asked for a consult, having followed me on social media for quite some time, was she thought that she had to be her body needed to be able to do yoga in order to do this trauma recovery work with me. And I'm like, wow, my messaging has been off because that's not true.
Mhm.
Yoga is a somatic practice, right? It is a practice we are using the body, we are engaging our body and our mind in a connection in yoga. We create physical forms. It can be very good for us physically, but trauma informed yoga is different than regular yoga. It is
Mhm.
meant to, we are leading yoga differently because we know that if we're working with a population of people, people have had trauma.
Mhm.
People have had
Mhm.
trauma. And so we want to lead in a way that isn't triggering. And then there's a way of leading yoga that is where you're really focusing on the somatic part of it, where we're learning to feel safe in our bodies again. We're
Mhm.
learning to be connected to our bodies again because
Mhm.
trauma disconnects us from
Absolutely.
our body.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
gosh, I'm just like, whew,
No, actually,
I'm
you're
all,
you're right on target. You. I know it feels crazy, right? Because we're in this space, and if we were just me and you, and there was no camera, this is what we would be doing,
right,
right? But
right.
you're right on. You're tracking. You're fine.
Okay. So, yoga is a somatic practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and and yoga can be I call a beautiful and powerful somatic practice for trauma recovery. But we don't have to use it at all. There are so many other ways. And that might be, and the reason might be because because they come to me because they're in chronic pain. Have chronic illness. They barely move, or they have a concern
Mm-hmm.
about doing yoga. Doesn't matter. Mostly it's people that are like, they think, oh, well, I have a neck thing or a back thing, or I can't be in a pretzel. No, no, no. It's not about that. A somatic practice is, and I'd love to just lead through just one or two of these pieces, but a somatic practice is as simple as um, pausing, like literally just stopping and pausing and
Mm.
intentionally just getting still.
That's interesting because instantly what I heard was scripture.
Mm.
Be quick to listen, slow to speak,
Mm-hmm.
slow to become angry. Be still and
Mm,
know.
mhm.
So sounds like somatic practices are what Jesus, he snuck away. He got away from
Yes.
the crowds to be with his father. That sounds like what you're describing to me.
Yes. And you use the word vessel, that we are God's vessel.
Mhm,
He gave us a body. That
mhm,
is our vessel. He didn't just give us a mind and a heart and spirit where we're just like floating around just no, he gave us a body. And
mm,
this body is where we feel all sensations, feelings, emotions. This is this is our our vessel of being connected to not just our mind but also to our heart by being embodied. Embodied means that you are in touch with the sensations that go on inside of you.
mhm.
And some people, like, that is the scariest thing. It is so hard to be embodied. So what we need to do is to, and you also said this word safe. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's that's the number one thing, and really it's the number one foundational thing, and it's the place that we have to get with trauma recovery is for someone to feel safe internally. We call it
Yeah.
cultivating a felt sense of safety, and to do
Mhm,
that, we cannot do that through the mind. You
mm-mm,
can't do it through your
mm.
self will. It has to be done through an embodied experience of feeling safe. So we have to get the body relaxed and supported and connected. And I go through this whole thing that seems so weird, but it works. It really, really works.
You have helped me in ways that I know I tell you,
Mhm.
but I was in such a state of trauma. I didn't have any idea. I had no idea the ways in which I was had been in fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I think fawn was the worst for me because fawn is kind of like you just accept and tolerate anything, like you're on fire, but you don't even know you're on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what you did for me was actually, I felt like you were able to speak to 3-year-old Shawnee
Mm-hmm.
and 2-year-old Shawnee and 1-year-old Shawnee. And you were able to take me through places that I was refusing to go. And it was also, when we started the yoga practices, because I started doing yoga with you, right? Because it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on in what you were
Right.
doing. But I can remember, and this stands out so clearly because I believe it was during COVID. It may have
Mm-hmm.
been when we were working.
Mm-hmm.
And I was outside in my backyard
Mm-hmm.
and I started having a panic attack. I believe it was some sort of a panic attack or trigger. And I was bent over and my hands were locked and everything. I could not move, but your calm, steady voice, it was like you walked me through it and you walked me out of it
Mm,
until I could recover my breath. And then you said, find a place to sit down and slide. You told me, get up against that glass door and just slide down. That's all I could do. And
mm-hmm,
I think about people who are stuck in these places and they don't have a Karen. They
mm.
don't have somebody. How did you get here? How did you even find out that this exists?
Oh, that's a great question. I would never thought in a million years that this is what I would be called to, that this would become not just a passion, but like an obsession just to learn more and more and more. That's part of my personality though, too, is to, more
Mine
is
too.
better.
Yes.
But more and more and more,
Little's
like
good, more's
there's
better.
so much to learn about how to help people heal and transform from trauma to living the abundant life that God has for us. We cannot, it's so like people like, I believe in God and I pray and but I don't feel peace and I don't feel this and I don't feel it. Well, that's because your nervous system is in a trauma state. Your nervous system's in fight, flight, a stress state, or the trauma state of freeze. We aren't meant to that's when we disconnect from what we feel. You're in survival mode. We have to get to that parasympathetic state of present moment awareness in order to, I believe, to really experience the peace and the rest and the abundant life that he has for us. But you asked me how I got here. um, and so that the answer is I was diagnosed with breast cancer about 15 years ago. And at the time, I was working as a executive director for a national women's organization, putting on events for them. I had a very busy life then, definitely.
Mhm.
Young children in high school and college, two boys. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I did all the things. It was an aggressive type of breast cancer, triple negative. It was only stage 2, but at 48 and triple negative, you need to hit it hard. And we did. I had a double mastectomy. I first had 2 lumpectomies. I was just like, no, I, God's going to heal the rest of the cancer in my breast. They wanted me to do chemo, so I'm like, okay, I'll do. But they will do chemo first, and I thought, okay, chemo is going to get rid of the cancer that was all throughout my right breast. Even though the doctor said that chemo doesn't get that small, minute. It was
Mhm.
I forget what it's called, but the cells weren't quite fully cancer yet.
Mhm.
But I just really believed that my story would be that God healed me. And so I went through the 5 months of chemotherapy and then had another lumpectomy, thinking this is the time they're going to get clear margins. I mean, I know you understand this language, and if other breast cancer survivors do and other people they don't, but that's what we do. That's what the surgeon wants. We want you to take out the lump, leave the rest of the breast, and if you can take out that lump and not have and get clear margins, no cancer around the edge, then it's like, yay, you can keep your breast, move on to radiation. Well, they did. It didn't come back clear, and
Mm.
my surgeon actually put me on the phone with the radiologist because I said I wanted another one. I wanted another lumpectomy. And she said, this is what I do. I see these all day long. And you have cancer, precancer all throughout this breast. You can't just keep taking little bits out of it. We need, and so I gave in.
You surrendered.
I surrendered, I guess. Yeah,
Mhm.
I did.
Yeah.
Um, And so I went through the process with a lot of hope. And that's where Full of Hope was born. I
Mhm.
was so blessed to have an amazing family, husband support, kids, neighborhood family. church family, a community of women that I worked with, all of this great medical care. And I know that that's not the story for a lot of women.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
not.
that now, having gone into the breast cancer, I don't know if you would call it not a
The
business, but
world, because you
industry,
work for
into
an
the breast cancer
organization
world.
to support.
Yeah, but that's where Full of Hope was birthed, was because God gave me the word hope as soon as I was diagnosed. That was the word he gave me. And I was able to go through it full of hope. Yeah, it was scary.
It's hard.
It was hard. There was a
Mhm.
lot of very, very scary moments, like when I had to have a lung biopsy to see, because I thought they saw something in a scan. They thought it had spread, stage 4 to my lungs. But what I realize, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. What I
You're
realize
fine.
now is that, yes, I was going through full of hope, but that was my brain and my heart. But my body and my nervous system was under assault.
Mm.
But when we're going through it, you just keep going through it. That's how we survive. We don't stop. We can't stop and process this thing that happened, and oh my gosh, this emotional thing and that. You just keep going and you keep going, and that's what we do to survive. And it works really great until
Until it
it
doesn't.
doesn't. So I guess the way to I want to stay on track here, to way to wrap up how did I get here, is that I went through my breast cancer full of hope. Even after being diagnosed a second time, so I went through the mastectomy, radiation. They didn't do chemo. They did chemo, but not radiation, and they should have, and they know that now. But back then, apparently, they thought if you had a mastectomy, there's no reason to radiate. But triple negative breast cancer loves to come back in the fatty cells of the lymph nodes, and that's what happened. It came back in
Mm.
my lymph nodes under here. So I had to have lymph node dissection, more chemo, and then radiation. And I also managed to get in a car accident while
I
I
remember that.
broke my pelvis, was downstairs in a hospital bed recovering from that. Okay, another little tangent. What I remember about that was that there were a couple people's reactions to that. Oh my gosh, her cancer came back, and now she's been in this car accident. So I had a couple people that they weren't believers,
Mm.
and I've been witnessing to them for years, trying to show them God loves you. Try to show them God's love. Try to offer them hope. And what happened was they were mad. They were like, how could your God do that to you? If you're such a faithful woman, how could he do that to you? And so what I saw, like, instead of me pointing towards him, my life was making them doubt him.
He's
And
repelling
it
them.
devastated me. It
Yeah,
just it just devastated me.
I get that.
And I think that God just kept hope. He just kept shoring me up and shoring me up and shoring me up with hope.
Yeah.
And then it was over. I had done all the treatments. I had recovered from the surgeries, and like, yay, like, celebrate, and I'm
We're
cancer free. And I did.
free.
I climbed to the top of Half Dome with a group of women from church, and I celebrated with victory arms. I'm cancer free, and it was amazing, and I did celebrate it, and I was grateful. But then what happened was I started to feel this anxiety. And it wasn't my mind. I wasn't like a worry wart, like, oh my gosh, my breast cancer is going to come back. It already did. Oh my, no, that it wasn't that. It was in my body.
It was internal.
I would be in the grocery store looking at cereal boxes, and it felt like a freight train was just roaring through my body. My insides were just like reverberating. I would like try to go on nature walks. I would do I'm just like, what is going on? Because I didn't feel this while I was going through it. So my brain was like, why now? Why am I feeling this now? People are like, just be grateful and no, and this. Well, my oncologist said, I'd like you to see the social worker who works with breast cancer patients or cancer patients and their families. And so I went to see her. I explained to her what was happening. And she said, oh, what you're describing is very normal. What you're describing is post-traumatic stress. And she said, when you were going through it, your body, you didn't have time to, I don't know exactly how she described it, but what I understand now is that you weren't able to process it. And so now it's like I didn't even receive them as triggers. Like everything was anxious. Now I understand them as triggers. Like when I went to have an MRI done a few months ago, I was absolutely triggered. And I
Really?
remember it was like and my brain was telling me, you weren't able to process this. You're experiencing this stressful moment as if all these other ones were happening.
Yes.
I took on the fear finally.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh, and
promise I'll
fear's
keep
hard to
going
feel.
back. So I was told what you have is post-traumatic stress, anxiety. And it led to that very deep depression as well.
Yeah.
Something happened in my life that was just an emotional trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and so the anxiety also. Then I had a deep depression, and I went on medication. I'm
I've been on
praise
medication before,
God,
so
praise
trust
God
me.
for medication that works.
Yeah. All of
You
it.
know, yep,
All of it.
yep. But that
All of it.
wasn't enough.
No.
It wasn't enough. So what happened was a woman at my church, she was just an acquaintance at the time. She came up to me and she's this fiery little Brazilian. And I can't do her Portuguese accent, so I'm not even
Oh,
going
I just love her. I know
oh,
who you're talking
yeah,
about.
right. So she comes up to me at church and she goes, girl, I'm going to make you strong again. And I'm just standing there bald and just so frail. So she could see, on the outside, that I needed to build muscle, to make me strong again. And she gifted me 3 months of her personal training. She said, you're coming to my studio 2 days a week. She didn't ask me, she told me.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And so I did. And she did, she built back my strength, and I had a little limp from my broken pelvis, and I got all of that back. And she started to teach me some yoga within it, this personal training. And I'd never done yoga before. And I was like, I really like this. Like, I could
Mm-hmm.
tell like something else was healing. It wasn't just this outside physical healing that was taking place and transformation, but something inside was changing, healing in me. I just felt like I need more of this. I need more of this. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what how come I have this feeling when I do yoga, but I need it. I need more of it. So I asked her to start a class for my Christian friends who were afraid to do yoga.
Oh, I can't
And
wait
so
to have
that's how
that
that started.
conversation.
That was 14 years ago. And I went to her class and I just kept loving it, not understanding that what was going on, that that my nervous system was being calmed and soothed through it, that I was connecting to my body and feeling agency in my body again. Um, and from there, well, I was working for a breast cancer foundation for 5 years. It was a job I just adored. I worked with an amazing woman. We did amazing work. Um, and then everything blew up with a change in the board of directors. That's all I'll say about that. Everything blew up. She was forced out. I thought I could
Mm-hmm.
stay for the women, but it was a traumatizing situation being there. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I had to leave. And I was devastated that I had to leave. But then my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer
Oh,
just weeks after I left. So
timing.
I knew, you know, I had a different God had a plan for me and my mother for 4 months, and I was with her for 4 months, and we had a lot of healing, the two of us, in
Yeah.
that time.
In the relationship all the way around.
The relationship, unfortunately, she
Mhm.
did not have healing. She suffered. I've never
Mm.
seen anyone suffer so bravely as my tiny little 5'1" mother did when she had
Oh,
brain surgery to remove tumors out of her brain. Coming out of that. Um, but I had that time with her, and then she passed. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a mom to take care of. And
wow.
I always needed something. I always like there's just this drive in me for for giving hope in any way. It was in different ways. That's what I offered hope to women with breast cancer as a patient advocate.
Yeah.
And now, like, now what am I going to do? And I remembered reading about yoga faith, Christian based yoga. And I had started teaching yoga because Leela moved to El
Mm.
Dorado Hills,
Oh,
and
I
we were
didn't know
like
that.
devastated.
I didn't know that.
So I started to teach her class. I didn't mean to. I just said, hey, come over and we'll do yoga. And pretty soon, God just laid out this path for me. He was just so gracious to me. It wasn't like or I had all this stress. I'm going to become a yoga teacher and I'm going to do, no, he just like laid out one little piece of that lily pad on top of the next for me to just walk this little path.
Mm.
The women just came, and I got certified in Christian yoga, Christ centered yoga. And then I heard about trauma informed yoga. So I did that. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then from trauma informed yoga, so then I started to learn about the nervous system. I started to learn about what trauma does to the nervous system, how anxiety shows up in our body, how depression and that freeze, how it shows up in the body. It isn't just a mind thing, and that we can affect it. And that's where the hope
Mm.
is that we can affect the state of our nervous system. It's autonomic. It's going to do its thing, but we can affect it by learning somatic practices to calm our body down from fight flight, or bring that energy, bring that trauma state of freeze up. And so that's what I have been learning for the past, I guess, 10 years now, and
Mm.
working with um, hundreds of women by now. I
Wow.
honestly can say that. Worked
I
with
know I've
hundreds
sent
of
you
women,
several.
and I've seen their transformation. I've seen them do the brave and courageous work of feeling their feelings.
It's hard.
Not just thinking about our feelings, but actually feeling our feelings. So when you were in your backyard and you said you didn't know what was happening, but that that I could sense, or I could talk to you and kind of reach your inner Shawnee, that
Hmm.
2-year-old, 3-year-old Shawnee. I didn't have words for it. I didn't understand that's really the scientific theory about what we were doing, but I do now. Um, I is helping you to feel safe enough, present enough in your moment, to get into your body, to feel that the glass is behind me, there's floor underneath me, so you don't physically feel like you're free flowing, free falling, but to give you a physical sensation of, okay, I can feel something firm and secure under me. I can feel that. and then and whatever it was that God gave me to say to you and lead you through gave your system enough present moment awareness so that you don't so that you can, this is the phrase that I use, or phrasing. Trauma recovery is all about this. We need to help someone get their nervous system in that parasympathetic present moment space enough. That's where we feel safe, right? That's where we
Mhm.
feel safe. So that we're safe enough to feel in the present what was too overwhelming to feel in the past. So that
Mhm.
we can process in the present what was too overwhelming to process in the past.
Can I
And
ask this
little by
question? Oh,
little,
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go ahead.
Now, I want to ask this question, and I don't want to miss this question. What happens when people choose not to do this work? What happens to the body?
They get disease, they get sick, they get chronic illness, they get chronic pain, because their body is, again, it's not just their mind. I mean, certainly they might feel like they're going out of their mind, and I'm not saying it doesn't affect the mind, it most certainly does. but but when we're in a physiological state of fight, flight, and or freeze, that's a biological state. Our in fight, flight, our adrenaline and cortisol is just pumping through
Mhm.
our
And
body.
you can feel it. And
Yeah.
you can literally feel it. It's like
Mhm. And it affects your body. It affects inflammation. It affects your immune system. It affects your heart rate. What happens when you don't deal with it is you get sick. And there's a study. Oh, is it the ACEs? The ACEs study from.
ACEs study. My score was a 9.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a 9.
The ACEs study. Oh, how can I put this in a? It's this 10 questions about, have you experienced as a child, was there violence in your home? Have you experienced abuse? Okay, so traumatic things. I ask 10 questions. And they did this study where asked where they found that the higher your ACEs score, the higher your chances of having things like cancer, autoimmune diseases, um, chronic illnesses for women, things like MS, very specific illnesses. Like it was a correlation. High ACEs, high health issues.
Disease rate. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's the
So
quick answer.
let me just say this. My ACEs score was a 9. I had challenges having my son. He was born premature. I lost half the blood in my body. I had an infection in my bloodstream. I had to have my stomach cut open down to the
Ugh,
fascia
just
and
like,
cleaned out twice a day for, I don't know, about 4 to 5 months. It took 6 months totally to heal. Then I got diagnosed with two conditions in my brain that both required surgery. I had a brain tumor, the condition called Arnold-Chiari malformation. I had several infections that could not heal. They just couldn't heal.
yeah.
Then after I got through the brain issues, learned how to walk and talk and got through all of that, then I got vulva cancer. Now, the interesting part about the vulva cancer was right before I was diagnosed with the vulva cancer, I had gone to see a doctor and he told me, Mrs. Brown, I'm looking at your records, your medical records, and none of these diseases go together. None of these things make sense. So he done that little willy stool and
Hmm.
he pulled himself into me and he goes, listen to me. What is happening to your body is inside of you.
Hmm.
And if you don't get a handle on what's going on inside of you,
Wow.
you won't be here much longer. And I think it was about 4 weeks later, I was diagnosed with vulva cancer. And I went to go see a vulva specialist, and she said, I just don't believe you have vulva cancer. She said, first of all, you're too young. This is a disease that impacts women in their 70s. It's just not possible, Mrs. Brown. They did the the biopsy, and she came back and she's like, "You have vulva cancer." So I had to have a partial vulvectomy. A year later, I was diagnosed with triple negative stage 3, triple negative breast cancer. And I knew that I just assumed I was going to die at that point. I mean, it was so hard. The chemo was hard.
I don't know. Well, I was gonna say I don't know how you did it, but then I do know
You know,
you went to freeze.
yo,
You're well, you did it because your will to survive, your faith in God.
but I also detached from
But
this
you,
experience.
well, that's God's mercy. I heard you describe what you just went through before, and I thought, how did she survive that? And it's God's mercy that disconnection sometimes from your body. You're a child being hurt. You're a child being molested. You're an adult being molested. You're going through that much physical pain. You would die if you literally felt it all. You would.
I couldn't
You
take
couldn't
it, you
have.
know. I couldn't.
And so the trauma response saves lives, but we cannot continue to live in it
Mhm. It's a protection in the moment,
for a
but
day, for a month, for a decade, for
for
decades.
it can be for, I mean, it's some of the
Right.
stuff that I've had to go through. You know, I went through trauma recovery work with you. I've gone through breath work. I see a lady here who works with me through my body. I mean, I've had a lot, but I also realize that trauma started for me in the womb,
Yeah.
from what I was born into, and
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, detachment from the maternal. I didn't have that attachment. That first 4 weeks is so
Mm-hmm.
vital, so
Yes.
that didn't happen. Then early being sexualized early, you know, all of those things, they were just building on top of each other and building on top of each other, building on top of each other. Then you get married and you have your own kids, and then there's a whole nother set of trauma that is happening because when you don't deal with traumatic experiences, you just keep recreating them in your
Yeah.
life. And I realized that my way of survival was just leaving my body.
Mm-hmm.
I just left my body. That was the only way I knew how to make it. I can remember literally beating myself up for a long time. I would say I allowed myself to be raped.
Hmm.
I allowed myself to be raped. But what I realized, and I know today, was my way of survival was freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so it was all I knew, because I was sexualized so early that my only response was shut off.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't present. But what is really difficult is, in order to heal it, I had to feel it.
Yes.
So I still had to go through what I was fighting to avoid. And that part was really difficult. And that's where a practitioner like you is so important. Because in order for me to go through that, I have to trust. First, I had to trust God. There's
Right.
no way. When he told me, you got to go back into apartment 79, and that was from the voice of God himself. You have to go back into apartment 79. I can remember falling to my knees, and I was like, please, I can't do it. I don't want to. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to. I can't. And at that time, wasn't even cognizant of all of the things, of ways I was frozen.
Yeah.
But just the things I was aware of, I did not want to. But if I didn't go through it, ultimately I was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that. I knew it. So I chose to go through. But am I thankful today? Absolutely. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thankful to God. I'm thankful to how gracious he is. I'm thankful to every single person. I mean, he sent me to acupuncture. He sent me to everything. And what's interesting is I love Jesus, I love church, but church people can really make you
Mess
want to
with you.
smack them. I mean, I'm
Yep.
serious.
You
I
just have
love
to pray harder.
yeah.
You just got to believe. I don't, and it's like it's funny, not funny, right?
Yeah.
But there's people out there and well-meaning, and maybe
Sometimes, but
maybe they've
sometimes I
never
don't think so.
experienced. There are some people out there who truly haven't experienced the type, traumas or like a break in that attunement, that attachment. They had that from childhood. Woohoo! If you have that,
Mhm.
you are if you have attunement, this good strong attunement with your caregiver, your parent, your caregiver, your primary other from the start. Woohoo!
Hallelujah for
What a
you.
foundation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there can be like these circumstantial traumas, certainly.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
if you can
Life
start
journey.
with that base, but like you said, you didn't even have that base. But yeah, it's so hard to be a believer and to love Jesus and to have experienced his mercy and his grace and maybe healing in another way, and seen and believe for that healing and believe it for yourself, believe it for others, and then be told with depression or anxiety, you just need to pray more.
Yeah. 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 Oh, it's terrible. I have taken so much heat from the Christian community for yoga. It was not too long ago. I went to a restaurant and there was this whole thing, and I was like, I'm not getting into that conversation. I'm not getting into that conversation because to me, this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make your own decisions and make your own choices for you?
Mm-hmm.
God has made it very clear to me that yoga is a pathway for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if yoga is not a pathway for you, don't do it.
Yeah. And be cautious of where you go and practice yoga and who you allow to lead you. But that's for anything in life. Be cautious
Anything.
of the church you go to. Be cautious of
Right.
the pastor that you follow. And it's
Right.
true for yoga.
It's the
But
same thing.
um, I really try not to get
That conversation.
into that conversation. All I say is you are welcome to come to my class.
Yep.
Come to my class, and then let me know
Then
what you think,
decide. Yeah, then
because
decide.
God just yoga just immediately just became a thing to me where I just wanted to do it to worship music. I would just, when I would do yoga by myself, I would just put on worship music, and I just started to flow into these, we call it what you want, warrior
Mhm.
one, warrior
Mhm.
two, I call it
Call it whatever.
victory pose. It doesn't matter. It's our body that he gave us, and we're using it to worship him like we're called to do, and to love him with all of our mind, our strength, and our soul and our heart. And to me, that is yoga. Is we are
Absolutely.
loving him, worshiping him, taking care of our vessel, connecting our mind and our body, healing, regulating our nervous system so we can be present with him.
You
When
know,
we're present in our nervous system, that is where we can I believe, because I've experienced it, fully benefit from our spiritual practices of prayer,
yeah,
meditation,
yeah.
journaling, Bible reading.
Life,
Yeah,
period.
right.
Because I can connect back to reality.
Mm-hmm.
I really can connect back to reality. And until, especially, what I realize is I lived dysregulated for so long that dysregulation was normal.
Sure.
So I didn't know what how good it could be because I had lived with the dysfunction for so long that I hadn't experienced functional,
Right.
right? But once I got a taste of it, like once you like my blanket, my LaShawn blanket, I still
Mm-hmm.
wrap up in my. As a matter of fact, when I don't feel safe, I will get in my bed, but I will wrap myself up in my LaShawn
I
blanket
remember that
and
blanket.
then put my blanket on top of me. My blue chair. I know when I go and I need to to regulate myself, I get my blanket, I get in my chair, and then I can
Mm-hmm.
talk to the Lord, right? But those are all things that I had to learn as God is still working things out of me and still pruning. And, the Bible talks to us about it in John 15. He says, I'm the vine, you're the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, you'll bear much fruit. Apart from me,
Mm-hmm.
you can do nothing. Then it goes on to say, my father's the vine dresser. And every vine that every branch that bears fruit, I think it is, he prunes back so that it bears even more. And every one that doesn't bear fruit, he cuts it off and throws it into the fire. That's a painful process
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it.
Sure.
Where God is going to, even the pruning, right? The pruning off of you is a painful process. But what he's saying is that
But
your life requires this work.
right. There's
So
the
practitioners like you are necessary, vital, and important.
hmm,
Necessary.
there's so much suffering out there.
A lot.
Right. There's so
A
much
lot.
suffering.
A
God
lot.
never promised that we wouldn't suffer,
Nope.
but
Nope.
he did promise us that he would be with us, that his presence would be with us, that he would be there to comfort us and to guide us and to give us hope. And
Hmm.
we can experience that hope on this side of heaven. Yes, our hope is that eternal hope. Our hope is that future hope that can, even though I cannot see it, I know it's there. It's that future eternal hope. But I believe he has it for us. Hope
Yeah.
right here
Yeah.
on
I
earth.
experience it. I
Yeah.
experience it. And especially, I want to say this to people. It is a journey and it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been walking with the Lord. I became a follower of Jesus 28 years ago on August 17th. I was saved, but I was not a follower of Jesus before August 17th, 1997.
Hmm.
The 28-year journey, I didn't even get to the deep rooted healing until after cancer.
Yeah.
You get it? And so people have to understand that healing is a process and it is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one that if you choose to embark upon it, you will experience freedom. But before
Mm-hmm.
you experience freedom, you will feel pain.
Yes. Yes. It.
How do you deal with that? How do you give people that reality? Because that's the reality. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to say it any other way,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to have to feel the pain.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just upfront with them and honest. I've had women come into my studio, into my room where I see people one on one, and they sit down and they're like, how long is this going to take? How many sessions is this going to take? And I'm just like, I don't know, a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably a lot.
I I always say, you know what? If
Mhm.
you will leave this session with sensing, even if it's just a hint that if you're here with if you're so I always help people recognize the state of their nervous system. That's where we start. I show them a sheet. I'm always going like this because the sheet is fight
Mhm.
flight's at the top, parasympathetic present moment awareness is in the middle, and freeze state is at the bottom. I help them understand what their body is doing, and be able to understand the state of their nervous system, and to feel how their body gives them cues and clues of, oh, this is a fight flight state. Oh, this is more of a freeze depression state. It's so interesting how so many women come in with talking about anxiety, and when we really look at the sheet and I ask them, tell me what feels, when you read these words, tell me what feels familiar. Sure, they'll say, you know, ang- um, anxiety, racing heart. They'll say the fight flight things, but then they'll be like, oh, brain fog, shut down, fatigue,
Exhaustion.
exhaustion. And they
Yeah.
don't even recognize that they have that they are in a state of freeze. probably more than they are in the state of fight flight.
Oh, absolutely.
So what I say to them is the truth. It is not a quick fix. It's a process, but it's worth it.
It's worth it.
And as I was saying, I can guarantee you that by the time you leave this session today, you will have felt a shift in your nervous system down from fight flight. That's normally where we start. It's harder, honestly, it's harder to come out of that state of freeze. So we'll just
Mhm.
say that you will experience a shift. Say you're at an 8 and you leave feeling at a 6. That's a win. And
Yeah.
that's where the hope is. It's a proof that you can affect the state of your nervous system. That's the hope, is the sensing that you can go from feeling this to feeling this. And then they want to come back.
Yeah, because healing's addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because who wants to feel crappy? And when you
Right.
get, even if you get a little bit, like if I, when I had my brain injuries, I would have these massive headaches,
Mm.
right? And some of them would be so brutal that the only thing that would relieve them was throwing up. I hate throwing up.
Yeah.
But for the relief, I would literally go in and make myself throw up. And what I find is that people will do the hard thing if they know that there's a reward on the back end.
Wow. That is so there. And it's relief.
Mm-hmm.
We will do anything to feel relief. And that anything has been the survival response.
Yeah.
The anything has been the freeze response. So when they learn that they can do something to bring them true relief, that
Mm-hmm.
is then we're like, okay, I'm in.
Game changer.
Okay, I'm in.
I'm
And I
in.
and I tell them that this is hard work. Feeling your feelings. And that's what we have to do. Get your body to a safe enough place to feel, be connected again to all of this, to the sensations, the emotions, the feelings that have been inside. We don't do it all at once. It's called titration. It's a little bit at a time.
Little by
It's a
little. You
little
couldn't
bit,
even tolerate it all at
little
one
bit.
time.
Yeah, so you can tolerate it. So you can feel in the present what was too overwhelming to feel in the past. So it's a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
And, so honestly, I'll tell you, I've been working with some women for years, for 3, 4 years. And that might sound like, well, you must suck, or
No,
this,
it doesn't.
what you're
Not to me.
doing doesn't work. No, it does work,
It does work.
but it's
Yeah.
a process. And they might have come in started because of their deep grief that they're in, the season of grief that they were in. And we don't heal grief. We don't get over it. We learn to live fully again with our grief, and
I
it's the
call it
same
integration.
process.
Yeah.
It's the
I call
same
it
process.
integration. I had to integrate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Then we
there.
might find that then they realize, oh, I've been feeling this way. I've had this feel. I'll say, when have you felt this way before? When can you think of a time that you felt this way before? And once they're settled, then they're safe enough. Their brain is safe enough to go and to have a memory
Yeah.
and to bring up something. And I'll be like, oh, isn't that interesting? They discover it. I don't tell anybody anything. They discover and are able to bring up. And so then we go into the process of, all right, let's go into your body. And I know it sounds weird, but like, where do you feel that? When you think about that time when you were 17 and you were in the car and you did, whatever the situation,
Whatever happened.
what do you notice now? What happens in your body now? And they'll be like, oh, my heart's racing, or my stomach, I feel nauseous. I remember that happened with you. I feel nauseous. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I help, it seems like, who wants to do this? Okay, guess what we get to do? We're going to sit with this feeling. No one wants to do that. But that's where the healing comes, is sitting with it. When you can tolerate it, in your present moment state enough that you can be with those feelings and when you're safe, and then they can kind of make their way out, not
Their
just stay
transition.
stuck inside you. And there's somatic practices for helping. There's not just one fix, oh, do this and your trauma is going to be released, but there are somatic practices for releasing that fight flight energy that has been and probably been in your body and in your cells, for years. But it's not just it's not a one and done. It's a, let's do this again. Let's do this again. What do you, I work with people where they come in that moment.
Karen, I can't believe that our hour's up because I could do this forever. Like ever. I
Talk to you
wanted
forever.
I could talk to you forever. I want you to know that I appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
I look forward to having you inside Shawneeville in my global community, teaching whatever it is that we come up with. But I can't wait for the world to experience what I got the benefits of experiencing. And I look forward to being the vessel that God uses to make that happen.
Thank you. It was such an honor. Honor is such an overused word, but I feel safe with you. I just feel
I love it.
so settled and delighted to talk with you and know that other women may benefit from it.
I pray that's the prayer. So where can they find you? How do they reach you?
Fullofhopeyoga.com or Karen at fullofhopeyoga.com. I'm happy to give my cell number.
Not
I'm
here. Not on this. Don't do that.
No. But just reach out to Karen at fullofhopeyoga.com, or I'm sorry, Karen at fullofhopeyoga@gmail.com.
Okay. Okay.
Karen at fullofhopeyoga@gmail.com.
What are your social handles?
Full of Hope on Instagram, Karen Penfold on Facebook,
Okay.
and that's a really good way to reach me. I'm very responsive. If you reach out to me through one of those platforms, and I'm happy to give what I just call a mini session.
Okay.
We get on Zoom, and we do a consultation. We talk. I help them kind of, where's your nervous system right now, and kind of go through that process. And I take them through my 5 steps to calm control, and they've let me know where they felt before, where they felt after, and I thought, look, see what you did.
Yeah.
Look what you just did. You just brought your nervous system down from
little drips
stress
of
state
peace.
of 8 down to a 5. Good for you. You're awesome.
Amen. Amen, Karen. Thank you so, so much. And I promise you, if you want to find Karen and you for some reason can't find her on social or her, then just reach out to me and I will connect you. I love to connect people with people that will help them. What do I always say? Live well together. And if you have not subscribed to the Lessons from the Journey YouTube channel, use the QR code. All you have to do right now is press it if you're on your phone, click it if you're on your computer, and voila, you don't ever have to miss an episode and you can go back and watch all of the others. So until next Saturday, you know what I'm going to tell you to do? Go love your life. Have a great day, y'all.
Thanks, Shawnee.
Thank you so much, Karen. We're done. Oh, it's been great.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Yeah, I'm still here.
I was like, oh, are we really done? Or is she still there?
Let's go.
Yeah, this outro just has to play.
Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more. The future's yours. Let go, explore. It's yours for sure. same but me with fear. So to God I stay near. I keep my hand to the plow. There's no turning back now. My future look bleak. I decided to see. He said follow me on a journey you'll see.